You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another political conversation. And today we are having the conversation with no other person than Eli Abeke, who is the president of Bündnis. And the question is, what do you know about politics? What is politics? And how can we, migrants, especially migrants with the African background in Germany, really integrate themselves in political activities? And the next question will be, how can we also influence our environment, our community politically? Welcome with me, Eli Abeke, who is the president of Bündnis. So you're welcome to the conversation. Let's talk politics. How are you today?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very, very fine, madam. It's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure with you each time you come on board and call me on board. Look, my heart is so glad. And so I'm ready this evening. I
Thank you
don't know
so
about
much.
you.
I am also always very happy to see you, and because I know that very few migrants, and especially Africans or people with international background, just like my friend Batimona Abeka will say, were very few of these people really have inside information to politics, and especially how politics function in Germany, and the difference between the possibilities of being politicians in Germany in comparison to Africa. And so many people we know do not really want to get involved into politics, maybe as a result of language barrier, maybe as a result of ignorance, maybe as the result of the false information that they ever got about politics, maybe as a result of the kind of leadership that we've been having around us. That notwithstanding, we understand that politics is so important, and that, like, if you do not understand politics, you do not do politics. Somehow, somewhere, politics is going to do you. Tell us more about who you are in Bundesviertel. Why Bundesviertel?
Yeah, Eli Abeke is my name. I hail from Nigeria originally, and I've been in Germany now for over 30 years. I came in the 80s and I started up there in North Germany, Bremen. That's where I studied. I'm an architect by profession. And since I've been living in Cologne, which is here in the west of this our wonderful country, Germany, I've continued my political career, so to say. This time around, more concentration on fellow Africans and in general on migrants. It is an area, I would say, that people really shy off. We don't need to shy off because we are equal to the task. We should see ourselves as equal to the task. And so, mainly, Bundeswehr in Africa, Alliance Africa, is there to create a balance in your reasoning, social, politically in the first place, because quite a lot of us, we had totally a different idea or reason of coming to Europe. We were looking for a better life. But when we arrive, we find out that we find ourselves in different environment that is to a greater percentage hard to come by or to deal with, because generally we are facing marginalization as African people, racism, a lot of racism, discrimination of all type, and that is, yeah, I would see the stone, the different type of rocks with different weight that is always before us. And we think we cannot wave away this rock. I'm here to tell you it is possible. We only need to be ourselves. When I say to be ourselves, that means we need to have some interest in our environment. And that is why we are handling this topic, politics, because politics regulates this country we find ourselves. Apart from the 1001 rules and regulations or law that you will find, politics regulate this country, and so you should have interest, no matter your class in the society, no matter your education, no matter your knowledge of the German language, you should be involved in politics. Even with your mother language, you can involve yourself in politics. All we want is to reach Africans so that they will know where they find themselves.
Thank you very much, sir. You say all that we need, we have already to be able to take part in politics. And you also mentioned the fact that racism plays a very big role, a major role to hinder people to really take part actively in politics. And you went further to also explain the fact how important it is really to be interested in the community, which means that politics is creating more awareness, getting yourself interested in community work and to development work in the community. My next question would be to you, sir, is to understand the political structure. When we gave out the flyers, we said we wanted to have this political conversation to understand the political structure in Germany, because I think that's one of the things that we have not succeeded to understand. And so it scares people to even want to start it. Would you mind giving us a historical background about politics and the different structures in Germany? You
Yeah.
can choose which of the structures to present.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a very, very interesting question, and you wrap it very well, and it's weighty. Politics. We all know what is politics, and even from the different countries we come from in Africa, not minding the fact that that continent is being really for hundreds of years under colonial rule, we're still under some certain politics. And now, let's come to the country where we find ourselves, Germany. Germany, there has been different type of politics. I don't know if you know this. There used to be a kingdom in Germany, and just like as we have in the UK, but they move from that system and come into, right, multiple choice of way of governing themselves. And let me go straight to the point. We have parties like SPD, those are the Social Democrats. We have CDU, the Christian Democrat Union. We have the SCU, the Social Christian Union. And we have the Greens, right? And we have the FDP, the Free Democrat Party of Germany. We have the lefty, the so-called Linke. And we also have one very, very, I wouldn't even mention the name because it's not good for us migrants. So these parties, they move from one generation to the other. And guess what? In taking care of their needs in their society. For example, SPD is one of the oldest. You can imagine they formed themselves back there in the older century, in the 1860s. Yeah, so SPD is getting close to 200 years. And so is the oldest existing political party that is representing their citizen based on social matters. CDU is more oriented to the Christian Democrat Union. They are more conservative in their culture. So also the CSU, which is mainly in the south of Germany, Bavaria. And then you have the FDP, as I said. These are now the so-called Free Democrat Party. They see themselves as they are liberal people. But I want to concentrate on SPD and the Green today because that is a good comparison, coming from the tradition to a kind of modern inclined party, which the Green is. Because the Green just came up the other day in the 80s. If you remember, I said I came to Germany in the 80s. And so you can imagine a party created in the 80s compared to a party created in 1800 and that. Yeah, so you see the margin in there. So now, what was the aim of all these parties? For example, SPD. It used to be a party after the Kaiser, after this kingdom era, that now came up. They find out that look, the society is a kind of going under a sort of classic and conservative operation, and people are not free. Being under, if you're ruled by a kingdom, is always autocratic system. And they said, no, we also want to have something to say. And so they started in a kind of way that they were oriented to this Marxist system that you used to have in the former Soviet Union. I think a couple of African countries, they practice that too. I think Angola and if I'm not mistaken, Ethiopian, they practice also this Marxist system of politics, which is again a little bit theocratic. There's no much freedom. And after the Second World War, or before the World War, when during the Second World War, when Mr. Hitler took over, SPD was marginalized, and so they went underground. And now after Hitler era, and now SPD had the time and opportunity to come up again, and they pursue this so-called social democrat. That means social, they care for people's needs. And this is what they've been doing all this year till date. Now, the character changed a little bit because from era to era, a lot of different things comes in, and they tend to go with the tide. However, for my interest or belief, I think SPD is social oriented, and so for that, they probably, with their politics, would be in a position to look after the affairs of foreigners. It does not mean the law of foreigners, it's about the way they design their rules and regulation. You will have the feeling that, yeah, okay, they will also care for the interests of foreigners. And now, the Grüne, and after the unification of East and West Germany, they form a coalition with the Bündnis 90, that means Alliance 90, because shortly before the unification of East and West Germany, there are also in that Marxist regime also people who have almost the same political inclination compared to the Greens here in West Germany. And they were also moving on with different type of action to see that the wall in Berlin should come down. And when this came finally, shortly before the 90s, they came together. And so today the Green Party is called Bündnis 90 Die Grünen. That means Alliance 90 the Greens. So the Greens, as they started off in the 80s, I think that was somewhere around January, 12th to 14th, I still remember very well, that they came together the first time. And these are citizens, German citizens, mainly white German citizens, who at that time, even in the 60s and the 70s, knew and they pictured already that their society is just too conservative. And they stood up to fight against war influences from the government, from the Euro government. They stood up and said, "Look, we want peace. We don't need war in our environment." And they stood for ecology because they want to design the environment, in a natural way. So they were the first party here in Europe that came in the 90s to become a ruling party and could share the power of the federal government. And so if you compare the Greens and the SPD, you will find out that these are two different generations and two different interests. Why different interests? Because what they were searching for or fighting for at that time was, in the eyes of all other parties, something they call them, these are terrorists, these are Marxist inclined people. We don't need them in our country. In fact, quite a lot of them were thrown in jail, persecuted, but they persisted. And today, the Greens are a party to reckon with. Now, with this comparison, I want to tell you that it is a dream that if you stand up today and say, "Look, I want to become somebody in this country because I'm an able man, I'm an able woman, I'm able upgrowing young man and woman. My skin or my origin should not be an hindrance." In other words, you will look into the affairs of your environment. You will look into the affairs of your own family. How is your family faring? Is your family okay financially? Is your family okay? Are your children okay in the school? If not, you need to ask questions. So that's why Bündnis in Africa, when we came up the first time in 2014, we said we'll need to look after the affairs of our people in the first instance. Now, how are people faring in this society they find themselves? What are they looking for? Why are they here? These are all questions we put together, and it won't take us a long time to say, well, the answer is we have to be present in the eyes of the people. We have to be present in the community. We have to be present in different Ausschüsse. That's a committee. We have to be present, like place in Integrationsrat, the Integration Council. And the sky will be the limit now in the level of Cologne to go into the local parliament here. Why? Because we said if we can be in these places, people will see us. Our skin is a very, very attractive one. It doesn't matter. No matter how far you stand away from other people, you are seen. When you walk across, you are seen. And so people are interested in you. And so why should you stay back? You need to come out, use the same tools. This tool is getting to know the system. And people, it's not difficult. What we need to do is to ask questions. If you are interested, you can come into contact. And so, Bündnis in Africa, I wouldn't say we are here to compare ourselves with all these older party or great parties, but we want to do exactly what they are doing because they started exactly the way we started. It was just two, one, two, three people that came together and say, "Hey, we want to become SPD." And so this is how we started Bündnis in Africa. And so no matter whatever difficulties we're gonna face in course of our development, we should have this ideology that our aim is to establish ourselves here so that the oncoming generation and generation should also one day will read that Bündnis in Africa had that agenda and they are still existing today. I want to stop there for a while.
Wow, this was a political class, and I can continue listening to you because it's so amazing to give us the history of the different structures, political structures that exist in Germany. And I think that this is exactly what most of the people miss, So we want to have this conversation as often as possible. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Let's talk politics with Eli Abeke, the president of Bündnis 14 Africa. The intention is that we want to educate ourselves and be, of course, involved and take part in politics. And today we wanted to understand how the structures, how it came about, the ideologies, and also be able to have this kind of comparison studies. And that's why my question would have been directly, now Bündnis 14 is a young organization, political organization coming up. Sir, would you mind telling us the importance of Bündnis 14 and how we should, like just the Gruner did, come together more to be able to filtrate our interests? How would we say to be able to represent our interests? Because then we understand that politics is interest.
Yes, that is a task that we have to go through. You see, literally speaking, if you're there to create an organization or a company, you will need first the fundament, the people who will now not the same ideology. That is something fundamental. To get these people to not the same ideology, you will need a period of time. We started off 6 years ago. I would tell you things are not totally smooth, but our agenda is still there on the table. And the agenda is that we've discovered in the past that first and foremost that our fellow African citizens, they are not interested to know where they find themselves. The main interest is to fetch around for money. And of course, quite a lot of them, they are studying, they're doing different type of courses and all right. But when they round up, they tend to move. Of course, that is their initial plan to come over here. However, those of us who've been here for a while and have decided once upon a time to remain here, you will need to think again because you've created a family here, and we calculated that a young African who came here once upon a time would need to stay a minimum of 27 years so that when he has brought a child to life in this society, he will need that 27 years to bring that child to go through studies. So during this time, what will you be doing as parent? Will you just be sitting there? Will you just be gathering money and sending to your home country, building a mansion over there that you don't live in? And so we said, no, that's a wrong perception of our existence here. We need to spend that time and money on our children, on ourselves, so that we can build a solid fundament for ourselves. After all, the Europeans who came to colonize that continent, they came and remained. They built up all sorts of structures to develop their government, their rulership, everything they did over there. And so why should we be jumping here and there? So this is the fundament. If we can hold on this, we said in Bündnis in Africa, we will be able to combine it with social affairs, and then we will install our program in the city of Cologne. And so our counterpart will see it, and they will say that basically it's nothing different to what they are reasoning and how they are living. And so here we are. We are equal to the task. And we are not afraid at all. We only need to come up and talk. But people, it sounds difficult, but it's not. Because we are talented in different ways. We speak different languages. And you know what? We, at this present time, we find ourselves in this society, we have revamped this economy. We are bringing in a lot. So why should we just bring in and then we withdraw? We will involve ourselves. Then we are just looking for ways to punish the next generation, right? So we wouldn't want to see our children not having a better fundament than we have. So this is what Bündnis in Africa stands for.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You watching all over, and I'm saying let's say thank you for this breakdown, sir. And I appreciate the team of Bündnis in Africa who are really behind and doing an amazing job. And Bündnis in Africa says use your resources to establish yourself fundamentally in your new society, sir. You talked about Bundesviertel and you mentioned the fact that it is in Köln, and it pricked my curiosity to understand. Would you want to stay? Let Bundesviertel just be an organization, political organization for the Kölner people, only the Kölner people, or you are seeing it to be also like the Grüne that expands and then we have it at the German level?
Oh, yes, that is our dream. That is our dream. Well, I would tell you, as an architect, if you want to erect a building, you will spend time on the ground. That means in the fundament. You will spend a lot of time. You will do all necessary calculation, and you will reassure with the engineers, the structural engineers, and then at the time they give you okay, and then you can continue to climb in the height. So this time we will definitely need, all right? But for now, we are in Cologne. And by the way, we have friends around NRV. And so, but by the time we move on, we'll be hard in the capital city, Düsseldorf, right? And by the way, we've also sprayed our scent in Düsseldorf. They also know us, in the parliament, because we also work sometime with SPD in different type of certain projects. and so that will also make some move to other cities, right? And one paramount project is Ashton des N-Wortes, the banning of the N-word. We successful. We brought this bill into the local parliament here, and thank God we were successful with that. That was last May, and so we are spreading it now. Right now, 4 other cities in I think Castle, and then we have oh my gosh, the other Castle, and then we have Mönchengladbach, we have Dortmund, and we have this other city is now escaping me. It's in Baden-Württemberg. All right, so that tells you that Bündnis in Africa is programmatic. We have program that we always work hand in hand with the existing parties, because we need certain tools, and they are also very, very interested in us to see that, oh, this is an African group, they know what they are doing, and they support us. So your question, yes, that is a future plan, but we need still more
The fundament.
firm establishment. Yeah.
Thank you. And that takes me to the next question, which is so important as well, because someone said, Mary said it makes a lot of sense to look after your immediate environment and live in it fully involved in all aspects of life in it. And that takes me to the question, sir. What does it take to become a member of Bundesvierten, and how do I come into Bundesvierten? What does it really take to become
Yes.
part of Bundesvierten? Or again, what does it take to be part of a political organization in Germany?
Yes.
Using Bundesvierten as an example.
Right. Exactly. Well, as we always say, I would also like to compare with
Yes.
existing political parties. Well, if you want to become a member of Bündnis in Africa, check our website. You just put in Bündnis in Africa, and you will be there, right? So you can just go through and then drop us a line. We will respond immediately. So we see Bündnis in Africa as a milestone into politics generally. In other words, we are able, or this is a group of people who want to deal with their political matters where they live. In other words, grassroots work. All right. So, and then as time grows, it is also your decision to say, I've had enough with Bündnis in Africa. I want to advance now. We are very, very happy for that, because at that stage we will know, okay, you started off with Bündnis in Africa. As I said earlier on, we work hand in hand with other political parties, democratic political parties, right? So these are areas where we rub our minds, and we ask questions, and they also ask us questions. For example, during this last election, we also work with different parties, especially with the SPD, and because they showed interest in us, right? And so by so doing, you gain more experience, and these experiences, we put down our Bundeswehr in Africa table, and we share it, right? So you're welcome.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. And someone is also writing, any association run by people of African descent can join Bündnis. So just to add to what you
Yeah.
have said. Now, so I'm taking you now to the question of the practical question. How, step by step, give us a step by step. If a young person comes, a young refugee gets into Germany, or a young student comes into Germany, and they comes to your office and asks, sir, I want to really become very active in a political organization. What are the steps to take? What should I observe? What should I do step by step? What would you say, sir?
Well, we ask certain questions to get to know exactly what are the interests of such a young man. All right, and we've heard in the past that people with writers, all right, and just a formal application. They would just drop just a few lines. Oh, I've read about Bündnis in Africa, and I am this and that, and those are my works in the past. I'm interested to get to know what Bündnis in Africa is, and then we will invite such person, and we will discourse. We will ask those questions, what we normally ask, and then we will now leave some certain rooms, yeah, for such a person now to rethink, all right, and of course, we also always say, okay, look, I am called Eli Abeke. If you also want, you can research about me, who I am, because as a public person, basically you don't have anything to hide, all right? And so if they are convinced, they call again, and then we go into the second round of talks, and then yeah, and then you will fill the necessary form to become a member, and then you are in. We have, so to say, a constitution, and you'll be handed out that constitution. You read it. If you ask questions, and then we can also discuss on that. And then yeah, you're free, because as a political organization is just like being a freelancer. So we need your ideas. We need your ideas in all walks of life. We need your ideas that has to do with a human being. We need your ideas that also has to do primarily with Africans. What are your problems? Do you have? What are the problems you have in the society, or what are you observing among other Africans or other migrants? See, all these are all questions or experiences that we need, for us to move on within Bündnis Africa, because we will be posing these questions in the parliament. We will be handling this question and be looking for solution for these questions. Right. So it is not just ordinary that we brought in that bill, N word. All right. And you see, it has been approved. It's now abolished, and here in Cologne, you are not allowed to say it, right? And then we went further, because that's another area where quite a lot of Africans are really having going through hell, in the psychiatrical area. You can't imagine. You wouldn't believe how many Africans are, yeah, in the psychiatrical hospital. In fact, you will be looking for friends or somebody you wouldn't find it. You will be thinking that maybe he's traveled back home in Africa. No, he's in there because he can't. The time came, he couldn't go. Stand the difficulties he's going through here. So that's also a bill we filed in. We demanded that the conditions they are should be elevated. We are still on it. They are still on it. We're not finished, right? You see. So just to mention two, but there are quite a lot. Time will permit us now.
Mhm. Thank you very much. Amazing work that you're doing with Bündnis 14. I mean, to come against, to fight and to say, let us stop the N word is amazing job. And unfortunately, many people do not see this as job. And this takes me to my next question. What are the process of politics? Because usually people think that when you get into politics, you just change the entire table. You change everything. They feel that
Yeah.
it's like most of the people I talk with, they tell me, oh, the leaders are really not doing a good job. And then I look at them at times, I say, I wish you would have taken the place of a leader for 1 second. Now, my question will be, why then do Africans shy away from politics? Is there comparison studies, the African politics in Africa and politics here in Germany?
Um, well, you see, why Africans shy away from politics in Germany, from our experiences, one, the language. They feel they cannot handle the German language. Yes, that could be a barrier, but that will not stop you to be interested in politics because there are always going to be some other Africans who are good in the language. So you can always go to them and say, hey, look, I'm not good in the language, but these are my questions. Can you please take them with you? All right. Number one. Number two, people are shy away from politics because if they see fellow Africans doing it, they think or feel that he's getting a lot of money, all right? And if he is not able, and now as we have find out that the language is a barrier, all right? And I see, okay, I can't handle the language, and then that would be a reason for him not to see that the effort somebody who can use the language is putting out there is very, very important for him or his children, right? So now, these are just the 2 points. There are quite a lot of other points that we shied away. But let's move on a little bit deeper. What is the political work itself? What is going on? As you said, it's also part of your question is that people are not aware what's the politics is doing or people involved in politics what they're doing at the background. My people, this is not it's not a thing you can compare plantain to cocoyam or yam itself. Rather, these are topics you face every day that we discuss there. We are looking for solution for these topics, and by the time we find solution for these topics, and by the way, the period that is needed now to come up with a solution for a certain topic, you cannot fix it. All right? So, but for you to be able to be in the right position to buy your plantain and cocoyam and yam, you need to know that there are people, let me give them that word, senators, who are there in the parliament that are debating on simple matters like cleaning the streets or taking care of the streets. Yeah. And these are all things in your society that are very, very important. These are all things or matters in a society that can create job. Okay. So we go in there, we go in for a sitting that will take 3-4 hours. And the agenda on the program that day could be 20 25 or 30 different topics, and there are different parties who are there, and everybody has question to one topic, to this same topic. So you, for example, Bündnis in Africa, will be there now to say, hey, look, my problem today is to eradicate that N word because my people, they are marginalized. Or I will say, hey, look, you know what? The other day I was called by a fellow brother who has a relative in the psychiatric hospital, and he told me that, look, my brother is there, he's suffering. Will you come along? Then I went with this man. And this is a real matter I'm talking about. All right. And you go in and you see the condition of fellow Africans there. And so you will be moved, whether you like it or not. And then I will come back, sit down, write, and filing. And then that will be a point of debate. And this topic I'm talking about now, I filed it in last April, but it's not yet finished. And I cannot tell you when we will finish it, right? So I want to round up. All this we are doing, we are not getting money for it. All right? Now, at least on this level of integrationsrat that we are, what we get is 43 euro for a sitting. When we have a sitting, for example, in the whole year, we can have, say, 9 to 11 sittings, because it's every other 4 weeks or every other 6 weeks. But in between, we have different commission that we also go into. For example, I have to service 2 other commission, and they also have to deal with migrant totally. And then the other one is in the area of law, rules and regulations. You see, so apart from the main sitting in integrationsrat or in RAD, I am still caring for 2 other commission. This is what you don't know out there, right? I always spend my time after my main job that will fetch me money for me and my family. I will also spend this time to go in there, and we will stay at their house. It will also go into the night, right? You see, so it's quite interesting, very, very interesting, but it's time consuming, quite a lot of stress in, and you will get a lot of beating from your fellow people. But this is what it takes to be a politician.
You will get a lot of beating from your fellow people, but this is what it takes to be a politician. Those are the words of Eli Abeke, also the president of Bündnis in Cologne. Sir, I have a question. Before we get further, I really wanted to have hit on the question of money, but I take the question of Jockey Mary, who is asking, how can the youth get involved not to make the mistakes we made?
This is it's a wonderful question. You see, now, an example, the bigger parties like SPD, CDU, and so on, they also have their youth chapter. And you will be surprised to know that those youth already at the age of 14, they are interested in politics already. In fact, in SPD, you can join SPD at the age of 14. At that age, of course, you will need your parents to sign for you, but you can join SPD at the age of 14. I think it's also the same thing with other parties. So, it is the interest in the first place. Yeah, you need to show interest. If you show interest, that means you want to learn. And if you follow up those before you, for example, you can come to Bündnis in Africa, then you will have, I can promise you, a good leadership in the sense that we will be there to answer your question, right? So, by so doing, you will now take your time to look at that, to look at these, and you are also free to ask other parties, other political parties questions. Uh, there are also other organizations who are not parties, but then are working politically. Yeah, I'm also a member of at least two of such organization. You see, so these are also areas you can go and be a member in, and yeah, answer your question. So by so doing, you will not make mistake. That means you will have the time and opportunity to learn first, and then the mistake, the level, the mistakes will be corrected, from time to time.
Mhm. So I like this very well. So it means that our young people that are out there, if you really have interest, then you should join the Bündnis 14, or again join any political organization in your environment, because we know that politics is interest affair. And this takes me, sir, if there is no money in this politics, why are you doing it? Because I
Yes,
remember when 2014, I was going in for the municipal election, and I was talking to some people to go and vote, encouraging them how it's important to have representation and all that. And someone told me, Vera, except you give me something, I'm not going to vote for you. And I got so disappointed in myself for even going in to do this work, because I thought I was doing it to help the people so that they know that African people are around here. Now, and I had no dime, no cent. So now that there is no cent, no dime, not even a small penny that can say it can feed your family, why are you doing it?
you see that will tell you, fellow country people or fellow migrants who will ask that question. That is a clear understanding of their knowledge about the society they found themselves. That means they don't know where they find themselves. They are still back there in the country where they come from, because that is the practice over there. Right?
Mhm.
Now, of course, money is in politics, but then you have to be a member of the either the state's parliament, right, or in the federal parliament. Then you get your monthly salary, because you are now officially in the politics. But at this level, number one. Number two, I also want to make clear that it is not all those who are in SPD or CDU or so that are getting salary. You need to be voted into, yeah, a parliament. For example, here in North Rhine-Westphalia, we have on state level, right, and we have on a city level. That means you have what's it called, the mayor, all right, and you have what we call the minister president, the prime minister. All these gentlemen and ladies, they belong to different parties, and some of them don't even belong to different to parties. Yeah, for example, our mayor here in Cologne, she's neutral. She doesn't belong to any party, but she's supported by at least the CDU, the Green, and right now I think the Volt. The Volt is a new party that's came in now, right? So yeah, at the end of the month, she's getting an salary, because she's handling an office, and that is an high office, so she gets salary for that. But we don't have any salary. So why, knowing that there's no money in it, why are you going to? Because this is how you shape the future of your society. This is how you will bring in your ideas, so that your ideas could be heard in the parliament, and thereafter will become a law. a rule and regulation in your society. So by so doing, things are regulated in your environment, and before you know it, jobs are created. And so it's not now looking for money first, but you have to service your environment first. I think there's one popular president that said, I think that was J.F. Kennedy. He said, hey, people, they don't look for what the government can do for you, but the other way around. You should think of what you can do for them. So, by so doing, this is how this country was built, or is even still being built. And this is why we are enjoying all these infrastructures and amenities we have here. So this is how things goes.
Thank you very much, sir. And time is almost fast gone. Um, And I like the quote, you should not always expect the government to do something. Always ask yourself the question, what can I give to the government? Leaf says the civil engagement by engaging in politics is empowerment. Seeing how our words and engagement change our community is more than the money. That's how we make our effort count better in the society we live. And Randall says, very good. Thank you very much, sir. Please, a last word before we meet again next month.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you, Vera, for this opportunity once again, and all
Mm.
viewers. It is wonderful to have you around. Look, we need to do this further. Your encouragement in this direction would be the best fundament we can lay for. I wouldn't even call it a struggle for our matters. All right. And so, because as we talk of politics, we also need to talk about other organizations, social organizations, because this comparison has to be there too, to bring in the difference. Because most of the time we sort of we mix up things. Yeah, you are more acquainted to the different organization, like Fine Association and all that. They do a lot of cultural things, and you see, but here we are talking about participation in politics. So, whichever way you feel you can contribute, it is welcome. All right. And in any organization you are, it is always good to talk about politics. And don't forget, Almighty God is there and is administering all of them. And He's telling you that you are a creation, you are here on earth to take dominion. In other words, He has provided everything for us. It is left for us to make a good use of these infrastructures. And as intelligent as we are as Africans, as intelligent as we are as people, we are in very, very, very best situation and environment to move on as people. In other words, our private interests should remain within our four walls. If we're out there, we should stand for each other. Yes, there are going to be differences. I mean, we experienced it also in the last election. But thereafter, we should come together because from these differences, we will learn to build our future better.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. From our differences, we will learn to build our future better. But I think that the differences should be there and it ought to be appreciated because only having the same similarities really makes life also boring. Thank you very much for your volunteerism, for your service and devotion to the people of Cologne, and thank you very much for serving the people. And Martin said that one said that to be great, it takes one thing, service. And no wonder you are great. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining our conversation today. And we're going to meet again for another political conversation at the end of the month. Tune in, and of course, do not forget to share the links with your friends and family members. Take good care of yourself, and we meet again. Until then, bye bye.
Okay.